themselves. So anyways, it is the case that human beings have a nature, and we have to contend with that nature, and so we can't just create our own values. And what Jung, especially Jung, Freud started it, but especially Jung, believed that, well, in some sense, what had happened was that we had lost the externalized religious narrative that had been projected by our imagination out onto the world. You think about the constellations and the names of the constellations and the idea that the skies were populated by gods, that was an externalization of our imagination, right? Projected out into the world. We were seeing the world through our imagination, and which is exactly how we do see the world. And as we proceed, we're better able to distinguish, let's say, what's imagination from what's objective world. But that doesn't mean the imagination disappears or that it's without value, because the imagination is part of what helps us, let's say, confront the future, because we do that with our imagination, and to compose things in possibility before we realize them in actuality. So for Jung, the world of gods just collapsed within, back into the imagination, and it was into the imagination that we had to go again to discover what we had lost, to discover these lost values. And that's akin, in some sense, I suppose, to rescuing your father from the belly of the whale. A very brilliant intellectual tour de force to manage that supposition, especially back when he did it. And I think I see no evidence whatsoever that he was wrong, given, as I said, our radical inability to command ourselves as if we are our own in some fundamental way. We seem subject to intractable moral laws. And I'm not trying to make a case for the accuracy of those laws necessarily, or for their metaphysical origin, but I am trying to make a case for their psychological and phenomenological reality. You definitely experience them insofar as you suffer, let's say, from the pricks and arrows of your own conscience. And I doubt if there's a single person in this room who doesn't regularly suffer in that manner, and some of you suffer like that virtually all the time, which can also be a problem. In any case, it's interesting to note that we're not exactly masters in our own houses, and that's such an interesting thing to note, because you think, well, if we're not masters in our own houses, well, what is it? Is it just a chaotic internal structure? Is it merely the voice of nature and nature's various instinctual subsystems? That doesn't seem to be correct, because we do integrate them into something approximating a unity. There's more than just the basics of nature. We have language, we have communication, we have culture. We build up above nature something that's more than nature, but we're still beholden to it. The question is, well, what are we beholden to? What is this that we're beholden to? And socially, politically, and individually, that we cannot escape from? Well, so that's part of the question. Do you believe in God? Well, that's part of the answer, actually. And, it's no bleak answer. But the first thing I'm trying to say is, try controlling yourself. Try acting as if you're the fundamental source of your own values, independent of any, what would you call it, transcendent ethical structure. Just see if you can do that. But try it for a week. Try it for a month. I've never met anybody that could do it. Not even for a moment. I mean, I don't know how many of you have read Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, but I would highly recommend that if you're interested in this sort of thing, because it's the definitive study of this idea. Because in Crime and Punishment, the protagonist commits the perfect murder. And he has his reasons for it, and many reasons, because Dostoevsky didn't mess around. When he wanted to give someone reasons, he gave them reasons. And Raskolnikov, the main character, had reasons for murder. And then he commits his murder, and he gets away with it. But things don't go well for Raskolnikov, because one of the things he finds out is that the Raskolnikov that you were before you committed the murder is not the same as the Raskolnikov as you are after you've committed the murder. And there's a dividing line there that you don't, it's like the red pill, I guess, right? It's like, that's the Matrix, correct? The red pill. And once there's certain actions, once you take them, there's no going back. And so that's what Crime and Punishment is about. And Raskolnikov tortures himself to death, well, not literally, but metaphysically, psychologically, because he cannot tolerate breaking the great moral code. And so it's a great book. It's truly a great book. And it's also extraordinarily, like it's a murder mystery thriller as well as being a deep philosophical book. So if you're in the mood for, a murder mystery thriller that's also a deep philosophical book, then that's the one for you. So now, one of the other speakers on the panel, Van Badham, who was described not by me as a writer, activist, and Twitter queen, which is, I think, like being the Red Queen in Alice in Wonderland, something like that. I went on her Twitter site today to find out how many followers she has, but apparently I'm not one of them because I'm blocked. And it kind of surprises me because I didn't know that I'd ever tried to follow her. But anyways, she said, and this was interesting, she said, I'm a Christian and a Marxist. And I thought, no,